Greetings YouTubers and welcome to my 34th TTM video. Today, yes, I will share some returns. I got three purchases came in. I'm very excited. I got some mail finally from anybody almost, but it was great to finally open the mailbox and get some stuff. So let's start out with the first one that came in purchase-wise, and that's the add to the Hall of Fame baseball card collection, and that is Hall of Famer, Mr. Duke Snider there. Edwin Donald Snider, the Duke of Flatbush, a couple of his nicknames, was born on September 19th, 1926 in the City of Angels, Los Angeles, California. He passed away on February 27th, 2011. At the age of 5, he was nicknamed the Duke by his father. Duke played football, basketball, and baseball at Compton High School in California. He was such a strong-armed quarterback, he could reportedly throw the football 70 yards. That's quite an arm. He was signed by the Brooklyn Dodgers right out of high school and made his way through the minor league systems. He graduated in 1944 and made his big league debut on April 17, 1947. He became a regular with the Dodgers 2 years later in 1949. He played for the Brooklyn and Los Angeles Dodgers. That was the bulk of his career. Played with the New York Mets for one season, and also finished up with the San Francisco Giants, the arch rivals, the Giants, in 1964, at least for the Dodgers. He hit 40 or more home runs from 1953 to 1957, all those seasons in a row. And between 1953 and 1956, he averaged 42 homers, 124 RBIs, and hit .320. But his career took a decline when the Dodgers moved to Los Angeles in 1958. Part of it was his health. He had, knee problems, and a 440-foot right field fence at the Los Angeles Coliseum didn't help him either. Injury and age reduced his role to a part-time player by 1961. He played in 5 World Series against the New York Yankees, 1949, 1952, 1953, 55, and 56, and 1 World Series against the Chicago White Sox in 1959, all while playing for the Dodgers both in Brooklyn and Los Angeles. He won twice, the World Series 2 times, 1955, when the Bums finally won one, defeating the Yankees that year, and in 1959 when the Dodgers beat the White Sox. He was an 8-time All-Star, led the National League in home runs once in 1956, finished his career with a .295 average, 407 homers, 1,333 runs batted in, and 2,116 hits. He was elected to the Hall of Fame in 1980 on his 11th try. After his career had ended, he became a broadcaster for the San Diego Padres, as they were a new baseball team in 1969, and stayed with them until 1971. And then went on to have a career with the Montreal Expos as a broadcaster from 1973 to 86. Little trivia note for you. Duke Snider had a cameo in an Elvis Presley movie. The movie was called The Trouble with Girls in 1969. I think he actually had a speaking part in it too. He passed away at the age of 84 in 2011, and he was the last living Dodger who was on the field for the final out of the 1955 World Series. So it's another good one to add to the collection there. Duke Snider, great Hall of Fame card to add. Second purchase is also a Hall of Fame postcard, but this one's for football, and that's of great tight end Mr. Kellen Winslow. Kellen Boswell Winslow Sr. was born on November 5th, 1957. He's 63, and he was born in St. Louis, Missouri, the gateway to the West. He grew up in East St. Louis, called himself a nerd, liked to play chess in high school, attended the University of Missouri in Columbia, was a 2-time Big 8 All-Conference player, and in 1978 was an All-American. In 1979, in the NFL Draft, the San Diego Chargers selected him in the first round with the 13th pick. I believe they actually traded with the Cleveland Browns so they could get Winslow in that draft. He played his entire career in San Diego from 1979 to 87. He led the National Football League in receptions both in 1980 and 1981 with those great Air Coryell offenses. God, they had some great offenses back then. I remember that as a little kid. Fouts had such great targets besides Winslow, John Jefferson, Charlie Joyner, Chuck Muncie out of the backfield. He had great talent all around. He just had no defense. His 89 catches in 1980 was an NFL record for tight ends. Broke the previous record set by Mike Ditka, which was 75. He exceeded 1,000 receiving yards 3 different times in his career and set an NFL single-season record for receiving yards by a tight end in 1980 with 1,290. That record stood in 2011 when it was broken by a guy by the name of Rob Gronkowski. One of his most famous moments came in 1982 in January in a playoff game against the Miami Dolphins, the Epic in Miami. He caught a tight end playoff record 13 passes for 166 yards and 1 touchdown. He also managed to block a field goal with seconds remaining in the game to send it into overtime. His record stood until it was broken by Vernon Davis in 2012. After the game, he was treated for a pinched nerve in his shoulder, dehydration, severe cramps, and he had 3 stitches in his lower lip. There's a very famous picture of him being helped off the field by his teammates. That goes down in NFL history there. He suffered a knee injury against the Raiders on October 23rd, 1984. He was setting records that year. He was catching all kinds of passes, and he was never the same after that knee injury. And he was forced to retire in 1987. He made 5 Pro Bowls, which I was shocked, only 5. But 2-time NFL leader in receptions, made the NFL's 100th anniversary all-time team, and the NFL's 1980s all-decade team. He played in 109 games, started 94 of them, had 541 receptions for 6,741 yards, 45 touchdowns to go along with it. He's a member of the San Diego Chargers Hall of Fame, the College Football Hall of Fame, and the Football Hall of Fame. And is father of former NFL tight end Kellen Winslow II. So Kellen Winslow here, nice pickup to add to the football card collection. Now the next one is a purchase and a TTM. The TTM took 10 days, cost $15, and came from Nevada. And the card I saw, I liked the way it looked and wanted to add it to my personal collection, and that's of Mr. Rollin Fingers there on the card, and the Hall of Fame baseball card that I got signed. He signs items for $15. If you want an inscription, that's $5, and if you have a jersey, it's $35. So the postcard itself was $15, and mailed it out to a post office box there in Nevada. Rollin Glenn Fingers, better known as Raleigh. He was born on August 25th, 1946 in Steubenville, Ohio, the birthplace of Dean Martin. Rat Pack, if you know what that is. That was a little bit before my time, though. He's 74 years old. His father, George Fingers, played minor league baseball for the St. Louis Cardinals and was a roommate with, yes, Stan the Man Musial. His father worked in a steel mill out in Steubenville, and one day came home and was just fed up with working there. So he said to his family, "That's it, we're moving to California." He sold their house for $1,500, bought a car, and took the family west. They could not afford hotels, so what they did was they slept in sleeping bags besides the highway. Today, of course, you can't do that. That's safe anymore. While he was at Chaffee Junior College, the Los Angeles Dodgers offered him a signing bonus of $20,000. Raleigh thought it over, though, and thought he had no chance to reach the major leagues for a long time because the Dodgers had such talent with pitching. Sandy Koufax, Don Drysdale. And their minor leagues were so stacked with talent. So he said no. And he eventually signed with the Kansas City Athletics for $13,000 as his signing bonus on Christmas Eve, 1964. It was in the minor leagues while he was playing in Birmingham, Alabama, shortly after marrying his high school sweetheart, that he was hit in the face by a baseball, breaking his cheekbone, jaw, and knocking out some of his teeth. And his jaw was wired shut for 5 weeks. From that point on, he was always nervous, he said, about the baseball coming off the bat. He made the major leagues in 1968 and played until 1985. Bulk of his career is with the Oakland A's. Then he played for the San Diego Padres and the Milwaukee Brewers. Missed the 83 season with Milwaukee because of an injury in his back. He's a starter throughout his minor league career and early in his major league career. May 15th, 1971 was his last start against the Kansas City Royals. He pitched 5 innings, gave up 4 hits and a run. And it was 6 days later that he was called for a relief appearance against the Minnesota Twins. And in 1971, Dick Williams, the manager, decided that was it. He was going to be a reliever. Well, while with Oakland in 1976, free agency hit. Charlie Finley, the owner of the A's, he had a lot of talent, but he wasn't going to pay for it. He was notoriously cheap. And he tried to sell Rollin Fingers and Joe Rudi to the Boston Red Sox for $1 million each, and Vida Blue to the New York Yankees for $1.5 million. Rollin Fingers and Joe Rudi actually showed up to Red Sox, Fenway Park, and they were ready to play. They were in the uniforms. I think there's like a film of them showing up somewhere. But Commissioner Bowie Kuhn nullified the sale, saying it was not in the best interest of baseball. And Charlie Finley always hated Bowie Kuhn. He wound up calling him the village idiot. But it didn't matter. After the 1976 season, he signed with the San Diego Padres as a free agent along with teammate Gene Tennis. Finley did get off one trade in 1976, and that was to trade Reggie Jackson to the Baltimore Orioles. On December 8th, 1980, the San Diego Padres traded Rollin Fingers along with Gene Tennis and Bob Shirley and a player to be named later to the St. Louis Cardinals for 7 players. One of them which included, I believe, catcher Terry Kennedy, solid catcher. A few days later, though, St. Louis traded him to the Milwaukee Brewers along with Ted Simmons and Pete Vukovich. They got traded for 4 players, and that was the help the Brewers needed to get to the World Series in 1982. 2 Hall of Famers right there, Fingers and Simmons. Raleigh's career, he had 114 wins, but he actually had more losses, 118. He had a 2.90 ERA, 1,299 strikeouts, and 341 saves. He was an All-Star 7 times. Was a 3-time World Series champ, all with Oakland, 1972, 73, and 74. Made it to the World Series once with the Brewers in 1982. Was the MVP of the World Series in 1974 when the A's defeated the Dodgers in 5 games. He was MVP of the American League in the strike-shortened season in 1981, and also was that year's Cy Young Award winner as well. 4 times he was the Rolaids Relief Man Award winner. 3 times he led the major leagues in saves. He's a member of the A's Hall of Fame, the Miller Park Walk of Fame, the San Diego Hall of Champions, and the Baseball Hall of Fame. Now, the famous mustache and hair. Well, Charlie Finley was notoriously cheap, as I said, but he always liked to be a showman and try to attract people to the stadium. So he decided he was going to pay his players to grow their hair long and grow mustaches. And it was a $300 bonus. And from a cheap guy like that, that was a lot for them. So that's why he grew the mustache, which became very famous. And so did the other players on the team. Sal Bando, Catfish Hunter, Reggie Jackson. A lot of guys got that bonus. They were nicknamed the Mustache Gang. In the 1972 World Series against the Cincinnati Reds, it was known as the Hairs versus the Squares because the Reds were so clean-cut. After being released by the Milwaukee Brewers, he was offered a contract to play for the Cincinnati Reds in 1986. The owner at the time, the famous, Marge Schott on the Reds, she had a clean-cut policy. All players must be clean-shaven. Rollin Fingers told the general manager of the Cincinnati Reds, well, you tell Marge Schott to shave her St. Bernard, which was named Shotzi, and I'll shave my mustache. And he never played for the Cincinnati Reds, but great additions. Nice of him to sign, and it was a good pickup as well to get the card. So thank you, Mr. Fingers there. I always appreciate that. The next TTM I got in the mail came from New York. Took 11 days. There was no fee. And this is of Mr. Carl Banks. Great linebacker with the New York Giants. I asked him if he could sign 2-time Super Bowl champs, and he did. He put it right down there in the bottom. So thank you, Mr. Banks. believe he's a strict one per signer, so I was happy to get that back. Carl E. Banks. I have no idea what the E stands for. I looked it up. I couldn't find it. He was born on August 29th, 1942 in Flint, Michigan. He's 58. Attended the Michigan State University, and in the 1984 NFL Draft was picked in the first round with the third pick by the New York Giants. His career went from 1984 to 1995. The bulk of it, of course, with the New York Giants from 1984 to 92. Then he signed a 3-year contract with Washington, played one season there in 1993 before they released him, and finished up with the Cleveland Browns in 1994 and 1995. The last year, the Browns were originally in Cleveland before moving to Baltimore. And Carl Banks says he was shocked because he was told by Art Modell they weren't moving, so he bought a home. A lot of players did, and they were just shocked when they found out they were moving. He was a 2-time Super Bowl champ, Super Bowl 21 and the famous Super Bowl 25. He had only one Pro Bowl appearance. That was 1987. I was surprised about that. And he made the NFL's 1980s All-Decade team. His career, he had 39.5 sacks, 3 interceptions, and a touchdown. He's in the Giants' Ring of Honor and is also an analyst for the New York Giants radio broadcasts. So again, 11 days, no fee from New York. Thank you, Mr. Carl Banks. And the final TTM is a ball. Keeps the baseball streak alive. This came from Pennsylvania. It took about 18 days. I did include a $5 donation. And that is, I'll take the cover off here, Mr. Al Chambers. Who was Al Chambers? Says it right on the ball. Number 1 draft pick, 1979. Even put his uniform number on there, 23. Albert Eugene Chambers, better known as Al, born on March 24th, 1961. Not too far from me in Harrisburg, PA, the capital there. 59. He played for the Seattle Mariners from 1983 to 1985. In 1979, he was the first overall pick for Major League Baseball right out of high school. So that's a big thing. I remember him because it was the 1985 top set. They had these number 1 draft pick cards, and his card was in it. So I remember that distinctly. And I figured, well, I'll send it to him. He had, I think, 2 cards, 1983 and 1985 Donruss. In that first round, in 1979, also picked Tim Leary, who pitched for the Mets and the 1988 World Series winning Dodgers teams, Andy Van Slyke, Tim Wallach. The Toronto Blue Jays took a catcher by the name of Jay Schrader. He didn't play for the Blue Jays, but he went on to play in the National Football League for Washington and the Raiders, other teams. Al Chambers hit a total of 208 as an average, 2 homers and 11 RBIs in his career. He always felt that he never got the support from his veteran teammates that he needed to help him or the organization itself. He said a lot of other organizations helped their rookies. Ours never did. And he just felt that they didn't care. But nice to be signed number 1 right out of high school. You can't beat that. He lives in Pennsylvania, in Harrisburg, I believe, still. I think that's where I sent it. But again, he signed it, number 1 draft pick, 1979, and very nice of him to do that. I included, again, the $5 donation, so very good if you're just looking to add someone to your collections there, you know. Old Al Chambers, your number 1 pick. All right, that was it. I was glad to get some mail in today. I'm also going to show 2 more prizes for my holiday giveaway in December next month. One is a box of 2020 Para Topps Gallery there, excuse me, get my tongue out. And if you're a hockey fan, managed to get a box of Upper Deck, 2019-2020 Series 1, so figure out how to do the giveaway. But if you like hockey, you know, or you just want a free hockey box, and also the gallery, those are 2 additions to the prize package that includes the signed baseball by George Foster, and the relic card for Wade Boggs' bat, and the autograph photo of Ralph Sampson, and the Bowman Platinum as well. Don't forget that. That's part of the package too. So we're getting things together. We're also going to throw in old packs of baseball cards and football cards that you can rip if you like ripping old cards. So I appreciate you watching. Trying to keep the videos shorter. If If you're not a subscriber, you might want to like to subscribe. Hit the subscribe button and the bell, and you'll be alerted to when I put out some videos, hopefully more this week. If you like the video, please leave a thumbs up. Leave a comment. I'm trying to respond to everybody's comments as best I can. And if you didn't like it, as I always say, hey, subscribe. We may have something you like down the line. But everyone, be safe during these crazy times. Be kind to each other. And I'll say good night tonight to Missouri.